Screech by Taran NCT on AO3. Chapter 14 is an announcement, so we will move on to Chapter 15. This is Episode 14, Chapter 15. Shouta sprinted across the rooftops when he got the call from Hizashi that Izuku had been found. As soon as he got close enough, he had pulled Izuku into a tight hug and hadn't let him go. "I'm so glad Sashi found you," he whispered in a broken voice. "I was so scared you would hurt yourself." Clinging to Shouta just as tightly, Izuku admitted through a fresh wave of tears. "I started to." He pulled back slightly and brought up his wrist where he had drawn that single drop of blood. "Before I could get any further, I remembered that there was actually people who cared about me, and—" He paused, turning around when he heard Keigo land before them on the roof, before finishing in a whisper. "I promised Keigo I would stay alive for one more week." Keigo leaned in and buried his face in Izuku's curls. "I have never been happier that I made you promise me that every week," Keigo said. Pulling back a bit, he added, "Although, maybe I should add, I promised not to run away in the middle of the night, too." Izuku smiled slightly at him. "You don't have to worry about me running away. Not really. Izuku trailed off. "You just didn't have to worry about that. I promise not to run again," he finished in a whisper. "Okay," Keigo said softly and ruffled his hair. "How about we go home, okay, Izuku? Hitoshi is worried about you," Shouta suggested. Izuku nodded. Once everyone had settled back at home, Hizashi and Hitoshi had gone back to sleep, and Izuku and Shouta settled on the couch with the TV on mute, and Shota's fingers cardling through Izuku's hair. Even though Izuku was back home, Shouta still didn't want to leave him alone. His son had one of the single worst days of his life, after all, and no amount of hugs and cuddles could be able to just wash away the feeling of killing a person. Even if Shouta wasn't too sure that Nomu, was a person. "Hey, Shouta," Izuku whispered. "Mm-hmm." Izuku nuzzled into Shota's shoulder a bit more and said, "Earlier today, that's not the first time I've killed someone with Screech." Shota's hand paused for a second before he pulled Izuku even closer. "You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, but if you do, I'm here to listen." He kissed the top of Izuku's head. After a quiet hoot, Izuku whispered, "I was 7. It was a few weeks after my dad had thrown me off a bridge." It took all of Shota's self-worth not to interrupt him. His son had been thrown off a bridge. "My dad left us after that, and I haven't seen him since. But I remember my mom went out for the night, and I was home alone. All the doors and windows were locked. Sometimes around midnight, I heard the key in the lock, so I thought Mom had come home. I didn't pay any attention to it, and I was about to go back to sleep, but then my door was opened. The person who walked in wasn't my mom." Izuku took a shaky breath and continued. "He had the key, so when he told me my mom had sent him to pick me up and take me somewhere, well, again, I was 7. I trusted him." Izuku hung his head in a mix of shame and embarrassment. "I clearly know better now. Never let them take you to a secondary location. But I was 7. I didn't ask questions. We drove for a while, just a little outside the city." Izuku took Shota's hand and started playing with his fingers for something to do. "When we got out of the car, I was scared. I had finally realized something was wrong, but I was still stupid and went with him into the trees. At that point, I was pretty sure he was going to kill me, but I didn't know why. So, as I was following him, I was crying. I think he may have been either trying to show pity or something. Maybe he was just being cruel. He told me that my dad had hired him and that it wasn't anything personal. Izuku was crying now, so Shouta held him closer with the arm Izuku wasn't clinging to. After a few moments, Izuku was able to continue. He lunged at me with a knife, and I managed to dodge. It was the middle of the night, and it was super dark, but the darkness hadn't affected me in a while at that point, so I wasn't having any problems in the darkness. The guy started chasing me. He was a lot more experienced in the woods than I was, so he caught me. When he went to stab me, I panicked and screeched at him. It was my first time. Izuku stopped talking. I'm so sorry, Izuku. That's not something a child should ever have to go through. It took me 3 days to get back home after that. I was covered in his blood, but no one stopped me. No one helped me. Izuku took a deep breath. But I've known since then what I could do with my Screech, so I have been careful not to use more power than necessary. Today was the first time since I was 7 that I went all out. He looked at Shouta. I know you could have handled the entire invasion yourself, but I have to interrupt you, Izu. I couldn't have taken that creature out. You were correct that my fighting styles would have put me at a very distinct disadvantage, and you were the perfect person to take them on. You saved not only me, but the entire class. You shouldn't have to have done that, but that is the fault of the villains who decided to attack. Shouta ruffled at his hair again. I'm proud of you, Izuku. Thank you. The rest of the weekend passed quietly. Izuku was never alone. Someone was always there with him in cuddling range. He had nightmares every time he closed his eyes about the man he killed when he was 7, as well as a Nomu. Keigo had taken one of his days off to keep Izuku literally tucked under his wing for the day, and Shouta had come over to watch movies another day. League of the Guardians, The Owls of Hoogly. Is that a real movie? Izuku asked spectively. It doesn't sound like a real movie. It's a real movie. Shouta promised. It's about a barn owl, but I think there's a screech owl in there somewhere. Hitoshi nodded. Eurista is a screech owl. I read on the wiki. He's one of the brown ones, though, not the pretty gray ones like you. Hitoshi nudged Izuku. The two boys watched the movie, and Izuku was fascinated. The animation was beautiful. When they returned to school on Monday, the rest of the class was slightly in awe of their little adorable bird classmate. And only the looks that Shouta and Hitoshi shot them kept them from crowding Izuku. However, not even they could keep Kaminari from approaching Izuku. Hey man, how was your weekend? He asked with a blinding smile. Izuku gave a small smile back. It was kind of rough, honestly, but I'm still here. Kaminari seemed to remember that Jiro had told him that last time she saw Izuku, he was covered in blood and other bits of monsters, and rinsed. Oh, right, sorry. Whatever happened to the USJ, I didn't see most of it. I kinda went stupid and had to be carried out. He rubbed the back of his neck. But I heard you saved all of us, so thanks, man. Oh, yeah, I'm glad you weren't hurt. Izuku repeated, quietly. Are you okay? Kaminari asked gently. Izuku paused, and then whispered. I'm fine, just haven't been sleeping all that well. Nightmares. Before Kaminari could say anything else, the bell rang, and Shouta walked in. Izuku breathed a sigh of relief as Kaminari went back to his desk, and the rest of the class turned their attention to the teacher. So, I hope you all had a relaxing weekend. Shouta began as he walked into the classroom. Because your fight isn't over yet. Nearly every person in the class started muttering to each other nervously, wondering what he meant by that. But Izuku, Hitoshi, and Shouta could smell a logical ruse a mile away by now, and so they weren't worried. The UA Sports Festival is coming up, he finished with his manic grin. The relief from the rest of the class was palatable as they cried out, "Why would you scare us like that?" "Yeah, let's go kick some ass," Kirishima exclaimed. "Hold up." Kaminari spoke up. "Are you sure this is a good idea?" "Yeah." Jiro picked up where Kaminari left off. "Wouldn't the villains all just attack us when we're all in the same area like that?" "Apparently, the administration feels this is a good way to show that the threat has been handled and that our school is able to deal with threats. This is showcasing of our resilience." Or something, whatever. "The point is, the sports festival is coming up, and you're all encouraged to train more after school. Feel free to book times in the gym." "Yes, Aizawa-sensei," the class said in unison. Shouta then pulled out his sleeping bag and crawled under his desk. Alright, I have beef, like personal beef with the word muttering. Because every time I try to say muttering, sometimes I say muttering. Fucking bullshit, I can't speak. So sometimes when I say muttering, I'm talking so fast that I don't say muttering. I say murdering, or I say madarai. No, not that. What the fuck? Whatever. Point taken as muttering is a word that I have difficulty sitting and saying while reading it at the same time. I don't know, something about that word. Because Izuku murmurs a lot. I was about to say murders. Okay, mutters a lot. It's something that I have issues with. But I want to say this. I am thankful that what happened at the woods was an attempted murder. Because my mind did not go at attempted murder. My mind went elsewhere. And God, am I happy that Izuku almost got murdered and not the other word. Whew! I was starting to tear up when I was reading that because I'm like, please don't be the other thing. Please just be like you almost got murdered and, you had to use Screech and not, you almost got that worded and then you had to use Screech. Like, please, we can't do this. Do I need to check the archive warnings? I thought I checked them. It's like, what? I thought the archive warnings was just, oh shit. I just checked. Creator chose not to use archive warnings. Oh yeah, we would have been fucked. I'm like, I read the tags. It didn't say that. I'm scared. I would be scared. I would be petrified. I'm petrified right now. Petrified. Okay. But other than that, I don't really have any notes. Sorry I didn't upload yesterday. I was busy. Anyways, as always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.